Hello everybody and welcome to another UFC review. This time it's UFC 211, Miocic vs Dos Santos 2. We are in the American Airlines Center, in Dallas, Texas, and we're just really going to get right into this. So let's do that. Prelims first as always, then main card, and so on and so forth. So first fight is between James Vick, the Texecutioner, obviously he's a native of Texas, against Marco Polo Reyes. And Vic won pretty handily. No pun intended, because he won with a pretty good knockout. It was just over halfway through the first round. It was all his fight anyway, because he's a really tall lightweight, 6'3". He landed some good combos. Reyes got a few on the inside, but it was only a matter of time. Eventually, Vic landed a good combo with a good left, and then managed to mask a couple of punches before landing a straight right, and then just finished Reyes on the ground, and it was pretty easy. So it was just like a brush off the shoulder sort of fight for Vic. It was quite clear that he was going to win it anyway. As much as I like Paulo Reyes, I haven't really seen him in many fights. It might be like the second fight I've seen him in. So yeah, Vic obviously had the crowd behind him, he had the power behind him, and there was no doubt that he was going to win. I say that like this is scheduled. It's not. Like the fight was scheduled, but it's not like it's not predetermined like it is in wrestling. So moving on. Next up was a surprisingly good fight, because these were two fighters I'd never really heard of before. Chase Sherman against Rashad Coulter. Rashad's nickname being the Daywalker and Sherman's nickname being the Vanilla Gorilla, which originally went to a dude named Loden Kincaid back in the first ever Ultimate Fighter season. I think I might have brought this guy up before, I don't really know, but yeah, I'd never really seen... Yeah, there's a contrast right there. I'd never really seen him fight, but I remember the Vanilla Gorilla nickname, I think, because of the Ultimate Fighter. But anyway, hell of a fight this was. I mean, the first round was pretty good. Sherman kept landing really good leg kicks on Coulter, and buckled his like something fierce, and Coulter kept countering with really good right hands, really good counter overhand rights, and did stun Sherman a couple of times. The first one was good. The second one was fucking fantastic. It got to a point where Sherman managed to land some good counter knees and some good leg kicks, and landed some really good punch combos as well. Coulter's lead left leg was in bad shape, and they told him between rounds that he couldn't lean on it too much, he had to go southpaw. But he kept moving his left leg forward, which was not a good thing, and it made it an easy target for Sherman to attack, so he did. Landed some good leg kicks, managed to eventually get the win by, was it a TKO? I believe it was. No, he won with a knockout elbow. Yeah, as he moved in, like they both moved in, because Sherman's got really good Muay Thai. He landed some really good knees from the plum clinch, and then eventually just elbow, and that was all you needed. Rashad was out against the cage. He kept backing himself against the cage willingly, did Coulter, but he fought his ass off. I mean, there was a point where he was really rocked in the second round, and he managed to turn it around, and it was a really, really good fight. Could be in my top 10 of the year. It was just a really, really exciting exchange, and I enjoyed seeing it. It might have been kind of a one-moment fight, but it was easily the most exciting fight on the card. So, yeah, we're going to move on. Next up was Chaz Skelly, who is from Texas, against Jason Knight, and who is not from Texas. I think Coulter is from Texas. I don't really know. I don't really follow like all of that stuff. But yeah, Knight won by third round TKO. It was a really, really nice back and forth fight, and there was a lot of action. It wasn't a fight of the night, but it was a really, really good fight. I enjoyed it. And there was some really good exchanges between the two. There was a good moment where I think Skelly had Knight on the ground and landed an elbow that cut him open. I remember there was a point where Knight was bleeding a lot. And then it just got to a point where, I don't remember how, but somehow Knight managed to land a counter punch and knocked down Skelly and finished him with a bunch of other TKO punches, and he got performance of the night, if I remember correctly. Yes, he did. So, really good showing from him. I don't remember how. He managed to get a good left, then landed a right uppercut that stunned Skelly and knocked him down. Then, way too much ground and pound later, the fight was stopped. The referee was Jacob Montalvo, who was not a bad referee, but he made a couple of mistakes. Oh, speaking of mistakes, there is a couple I'll mention in terms... There's one in editing where the Metro PCS banner sign thing was in the middle of a screen as a round was about to start. That was a bit weird. I think it was for this fight, actually, and also in the previous one, when Bruce Buffer was announcing the fighters, Sherman got into the cage a bit late, and you could see his shorts as he walked in. I think it was that fight. But yeah, he walked in and like took his side as Bruce was just about to announce Coulter, who was in the blue corner. So it was a weird thing that happened. So yeah, next fight and the last fight on the prelim card, which is a shame because they're both main card talent in my opinion. Eddie Alvarez against Dustin Poirier, and this fight was really good. It was good. It was a really, really good fight. Could have been fight of the night as well. In first round, it was fairly even, but I give it to Poirier. Second round, it kind of happened. What happened was kind of the same thing that happened with Sherman and Coulter, where one of them had a really good advantage, started landing great punches, and then the other one managed to land some counter punches and switch that round. Then it got to a point where Alvarez had Poirier on his knees on the ground, and Poirier was kind of standing up, and his one hand was on the floor, and that because this was in Texas and not in Vegas, the new MMA rules hadn't been applied yet, and that was still illegal. And I think it's extremely fucking confusing, and I think that other places that are going to host the UFC need to get that sorted really, really quick. Because it is a dumb rule to have, just like your knees on the ground, that's perfectly fine. If someone hits you with a knee while your knees are on the ground, then that's illegal. Okay, I have no problem with that rule. That's a good rule. But when it's a hand or two, that's fucking dumb. I mean, it came to a point where fighters, back in the old times, would not even back in the old times. I say it like I've been watching it my entire life. I've been watching it a good chunk of my life, but yeah. But fighters wouldn't even put their whole hand like palm down. They would just put like a fingertip, like two fingertips at most, And that would really piss me off because it was like, you can't knee me while I'm doing this. Like, I don't fucking care. I can now if we were in Vegas, but now it's in Texas. So Alvarez landed a couple of illegal knees. Technically, it was three, but I think one of them was legal. But there were two that won, and those were the two that really took the cake. Poirier, like his left eye got really fucked up. He couldn't see out of it at first, but then the post interview he said he could. And he even said like not to boo Eddie because of what happened. Because of where Eddie's head was against Poirier's back, he couldn't see where his knees were landing. And that's a really awkward position to be in. It's happened to fighters a lot in the UFC, and it's really, really not their fault. And the reason Herb Dean did not stop the fight after the first illegal knee was because I think it was because he saw where Eddie's position was and he didn't blame him. I think it was either because Herb saw where Eddie's head was against Poirier's back, or he thinks that they're using the new rules in Texas, which they're not. I think it's one of those two. It can be really, really confusing, so I don't really blame Herb Dean for that. He's still the best ref in the game right now. Well, he's next to John McCarthy. This is Herb Dean. Just above him is John McCarthy, which is my right hand. So I'm just saying, you don't fuck with Big John and you don't fuck with Big Herb either. They're both two of the best refs ever. But yeah, it was a really good fight, but it's a shame that it ended the way it did. It was announced as a no contest. Even though it kind of should have been a DQ because there were two illegal knees landed and Herb Dean was really confused if the first one was illegal or not, even though it was. Because, new rules that hadn't been implemented yet, they weren't in Vegas, they were in Texas, and so on and so forth. So, yeah, before it confuses me anymore, I'm going to just move on to the main card now. So, first of all, we start off with what was probably the most boring part of the card, and it's good because I don't remember much of it because I was too busy talking to my parents. This was about the time that they'd gotten up from bed because it's a Sunday, they're allowed to sleep in. So, yeah, I don't really remember anything except for the second half of the fight, and even that was kind of boring. And it was between David Branch and Krzysztof Jotko. I'd at least heard of Jotko, kind of. I hadn't really seen him fight, and I'd never really heard of Branch before. And Branch won by split decision. Even though a lot of people feel like Jotko won, I kind of do too, from what I remember seeing. He landed some better strikes, and he had some. There was a lot of clinch work against the cage, and it was just really, 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 really boring. So. Yeah, the less said about this fight, the better. It wasn't really that good. I guess congrats to David Branch for winning. Apparently, he's been in the UFC before, and this is like a second go for him. I don't really know. I'm not really going to be bothering like looking it up. So yeah, we're going to move on to the next one. So next one was Frankie Edgar against Yair Rodriguez, and I had a feeling it would be a good fight, and I was right. Because Frankie Edgar is known for putting on fight of the night performances, and Yair Rodriguez is one of the best young fighters right now. He's so talented. I love watching him fight. He didn't get the win though. It was a close fight. Edgar mostly took control when he landed a good couple of takedowns, and like first round it was much more even, but second round he managed to get a good takedown in and landed some brutal ground pound as he did in the first round. But in round two it was even more brutal and more fast. And he managed to like fuck up Rodriguez's left eye enough, like it was swelling really bad, and the referees, was it the referee? Hang on, I'm going to look. No, it was the doctor. The doctor stopped it between fights, and I feel like that was a fair thing. Like his eye was really messed up. Then again, so was Eddie Alvarez's in the between the first and second round of his fight with Poirier, but he managed to carry on just fine. But yeah, it was really badly messed up, and the doctor stopped it. I think it was a good call. Like you don't want to put a fight through too much, especially with swelling. If that gets hurt anymore, it could burst and blood would just go everywhere, and you don't really want that. It's not good. It's bad. So we're going to move on now. Next up was kind of another meh fight. It wasn't quite as boring as Branch versus Jocko. It was the second. It was my second least favorite fight of the night, and that would be Damian Maia against Jorge Masvidal. It's weird to think that those two would put on a boring fight, considering that Masvidal is really good, and Maia is also really good. Another fight I don't remember too much of, but he managed to sink in some really good rear naked choke attempts. He didn't really fully get one, but pardon me, he uh, he had some good opportunities, but Masvidal was defending really well, holding the hand. He did one really cool thing where he took one arm and managed to get it. Like imagine that his Maya's left arm is coming over this side of my face, or rather this side if it was left. Yeah, he managed to grab his Masvidal managed to grab Maya's arm, managed to pull himself aside, and managed to get the fight back to an alternating position. It doesn't change the fact that there were still some takedowns, and eventually Maya won by I think it was split decision. Yeah, but what more can you do? Now it was a good enough fight from both. It was decent. Yeah, it was okay. Moving on to the co-main event now. Next up, we have the co-main event for the strawweight championship for Joanna Jedrzejczyk's crown against Jessica Andrade, who I really like, but she did not stand a chance. She did some really fast moving though, and actually opened up a huge swelling on Joanna's forehead, and it it looked like a slightly smaller version of the swelling that Mark Hominick suffered in his fight against Jose Aldo in 2011. You know the one where it looks like a tennis ball just spawned in his head above one of his eyes. Yeah, it looked kind of like that, but not as bad. It was still really horrible though. But Joanna, countered with some great leg kicks. She fucked up Andrade's left leg something fierce, I'll tell you that. Landed great counter punching. She's got really good punches and didn't get the finish, came close a lot of times though. The first one was definitely her toughest, but she got better as the fight went on and just managed to get a really good unanimous win. There's no doubt that she was going to win this, much like there was no doubt that Vic was going to beat Polaris. So yeah, I'm happy with this fight. It was a good fight. It did what it needed to do. Re-established Joanna as one of the best female fighters right now. Probably the best female striker. Like she's so good. She's so good. Andrade, as much as I like her, she didn't really stand much of a chance. Sad to say. She will get another opportunity, though, I hope. Uh, one guy that might not will be coming up next. And so we've reached the point of the rematch that everyone was kind of asking for. Junior Dos Santos beat Stipe Miocic last time, and sort of. Sorry, a little notification thing popped up. Yeah, then Stipe Miocic managed to get his arm back, In the second fight, yay! He won by TKO in the first round pretty early. It was the second fastest finish on the card, beaten only by one fight, which was a light heavyweight fight in the prelim fight pass card between Gadzimurad Antigulov and Joaquin Christensen, which ended 1 second quicker. It ended at 2:21 in round one, whereas Stipe Miocic beat Junior Dos Santos in 2:22 of round one. You couldn't get like a more narrow sort of thin thing. Anyway, he won, he landed some really, really good punches, really good boxing combos, and eventually just landed a big right and knocked down Dos Santos, then landed a bunch more punches, and then won and kept the belt because he's Stipe Miocic and he's always been underrated and he's always fucking awesome. I mentioned the whole opportunity thing. I think this might be Dos Santos' last go because it was something my dad was saying when we were watching the fight, and I kind of agree. Like, I do think he might have one more shot in him, but it's risky, and he didn't really put on a convincing performance against Miocic. Like, he got his ass handed to him basically. So it doesn't mean I hate Dos Santos because I like him. He's a really, really good fight. But he didn't really have much of a chance. Well done, Stipe Miocic, also getting performance tonight. And yeah, I was just making sure I covered all the bonus awards, which I did, so I'm happy with that. So two performances of the night for Miocic and Jason Knight, and one fight of the night between Chase Sherman and Rashad Coulter. It was really, really good. And that's really all I have to say about this. I'll see you next time for the next Ultimate Fighter episode, then after that for the Event Sevenfold backtracking episode. And yeah, that's basically all I can think of to say. Ah, cuppa. See you then.